Hey, what's happening? Welcome to Maych TV. So, in the time since I last spoke about Liverpool's next manager, the Jurgen Klopp replacement on this channel, quite a bit has happened. Xabi Alonso, my vibes choice from last time, has gone on and captured the Bundesliga. It looks like he's going to add more silverware, potentially a cup and the Europa League to that as well. So he then came out and said, nah, I'm cool. I like Leverkusen. I'm going to stay at Leverkusen. And we all went, okay, who's next? Who was next in line? It was Ruben Amorim, sporting coach. Sporting coach. Ruben Amorim, sporting coach. Fine, we said. There's a guy who broke through, won a league with Sporting. You know, it wasn't Porto. It's not Benfica Sporting. That's a big achievement. Got some European experience. Seen as a very progressive manager. Okay, young, dynamic. We can get behind that. And then this week it came out, no, not likely, in talks apparently with West Ham United, which is a weird one. And David Ornstein saying, yeah, moves to Liverpool is unlikely. We've already seen Michael Edwards quoted as, if not directly quoted as saying, they'll make the right appointments. They're not kind of worried about necessarily the optics of it or whatever. It being a popular appointment, but the correct appointment. Yada, yada. So, where are we? Here we are. In my nightmare. Step in, the water is warm. Who is going to be the Liverpool next manager? How do you feel about it? How do I feel about it? I discovered this on the day that Jurgen Klopp announced he was leaving, and it stuck with me up until I did the Ruben podcast this week, that I am so miserable about this whole thing. Really miserable, really down in the dumps, and it's a topic that everyone wants to talk to me about, and I'm really struggling with it because where I lie at this is Liverpool have got currently, right now, incumbent, the best manager on the planet, or the man in the thinnest of thin slices at the top alongside the other best managers on the planet. Without a doubt, whether you think he's the best or not is irrelevant. He's right there up at the top. There is no one out there better than Jurgen Klopp, and certainly no one who's available to manage Liverpool, because the other managers who you consider to be in that thin slice are managing Manchester City and Real Madrid right now. So yeah, and one of them's managed Everton before. Great. So we're left with this long list of football managers from a variety of different backgrounds and skill sets and experience and what have you. And they're all seemingly in the running for the job. There was a rumour today that Gary O'Neill has been interviewed for it. There was a rumour that Eddie Howard made the shortlist. There's a number of names been bandied about. Jamie Carragher thinks it's going to be Roberto De Zerbi. So what I did, first and foremost, I made a list of all the managers that have been strongly linked, and most of these come from the bookies odds. So I've got 16 managers. I have included Xabi Alonso in it for illustrative purposes, and Ruben Amorim as well, because I think they demonstrate what my strong point and feeling on all of this right now. But the 16 managers, there's some interesting names on there for a variety of reasons. But what I did, just so you can see my working out, as it were, I looked at their age, I looked at whether they'd won a major honour, and by major honour I mean a cup or trophy from either one of the top 5 leagues in Europe or a major European honour. So the Champions League or the Europa League falls into that category. The Conference League doesn't. And there is a little sort of blurred line around whether or not Portugal is counted as a top 5 league. I believe it is now, but also France now isn't. But there was a point where France was and Portugal wasn't, so I've counted them both. So if you've won the Liga or Primera Liga, then I've counted that as a major honour. Have they won any other pieces of silverware? It seems like a low bar to entry, but you'd be shocked at how many managers who are on this short list, long list, who have not won a single piece of notable silverware as a football manager. Do they have Champions League experience? Or if not, do they have any other European competition experience, Europa League, Conference League, etc. And then not necessarily for the ultimate tier ranking on this, I then rank them based on those sort of factors. But what I'm going to do is I'll talk through that, and then I'm also going to add in some of my own general sort of opinion around it, why I think that I don't think you can be as straight-laced as all that, because there's more to it than just by the book. And bear in mind, this is not a deep or heavy statistical analysis, but I thought it was, again, I think it's a reasonable start, but I needed to start to try and like place things in my head of how do I think about these other managers, because I was dead set on Xabi. I was reasonably pleased with Amorim, and everyone else that follows, I've realised I just had a big collection of football managers and I didn't really care for any of them. So here we are with all of that. First and foremost, then, let's start with Xabi Alonso. So we've got perfect, we've got sound, we've got decent, we've got just a manager, and we've got dear God knows our categories here. I'm putting Xabi... I've put Xabi in, well, sound initially. The fact that he's now won the Bundesliga moves him up to the perfect category, because my fear when he was being linked was they were storming the Bundesliga, but they hadn't won it yet. And what I was looking for in the next Liverpool manager was someone who's sort of broken the stranglehold against the odds in a top European league. Jurgen Klopp had done it, of course. Has Brendan Rodgers done it? No, not really, but a bit, in his own much smaller way. Rafa Benitez had done it with Valencia for sure. So they're the kind of things that I like. It's like when you see a footballer who's 22, 23, and he's not playing, he's not playing for one of the super elite clubs yet, but his goal return, like an attacking player's goal return, his assist returns, kind of getting up there, and he had one really standout season. You're like, yeah, you're ready to make that step up. That's the long and short of it. So Xabi Alonso falls into for this list of managers, certainly into the perfect. Let's go. Who's next? Oh, I'll just do it in order that it's fallen on the tier list. Let's do Ange Postecoglou. I think he's probably decent, right? Yeah. So, in terms of Big Ange, he's 58, so he's not young. That's a little bit of an issue. I think he's the same age as Jurgen Klopp. He hasn't won a major honour. He has won other silverware, and quite a bit of other silverware, and obviously good success with Celtic, which I'm not going to get into the Scottish football thing because it's been done to death. He does have experience of managing in the Champions League, not loads, of course, but some, and just general European experience of management. Fine, absolutely fine. One thing that does work in his favour, I think, is personality, but he's in the decent mix. There's nothing that's said that looks at him and goes, wow, he is an outstanding candidate. Now, if he gets Tottenham into a top 4, that will certainly add to it. It means he's capable of duking it out at the top end of the Premier League. And to be able to do that in his first season when Tottenham have been a mess, I think is real encouragement. Having lost Harry Kane, I think all goes in the positives column for Ange Postecoglou. Obviously, he's Tottenham manager. I can't see how he'd be interested in leaving them after one season when he's on the bill with something. He seems like a reasonably honourable fella. All that money talks, doesn't it? I've put Ange in decent anyway. Gary O'Neill. Gary O'Neill is the first, and the first of many, so it's no slight on him, that I'm putting in the just a manager category. And what I mean by just a manager is, it can be, you can get into that category for a number of reasons, for a number of avenues. It could be that you're a great talker, but you haven't proven yourself, or you've maybe proven yourself with some silverware, but you're not a great talker, or all you've ever really achieved is success at a really sort of moderate level, etc., etc. Gary O'Neill seems to be very well thought of. He was very well thought of at Bournemouth, apparently not by Liverpool's current director of football, but that's a different story altogether. He's getting good reviews for what he's doing at Wolves, and Wolves were in an absolute state when he comes in, having had to basically have a mad sell-off to comply with the PSR rules. So Gary O'Neill, being decent, absolutely decent, but there's nothing about Gary O'Neill that makes me sit up and take notice at this point in time. And I'll say all of this, right? I'll caveat all of this with, before I delve too deep and run the risk of slagging anyone off, anything can be successful. Any manager can have a good run of it, and even managers that you think are going to be brilliant can turn out to be rubbish. So I'll say that about all of these guys, but it's just my general sense. Next up, Zinedine Zidane. Zidane, right, should be in the perfect category. Why? Because he's won three European Cups. He's won 2 La Liga titles. He was at one point the best player on the planet, which I think helps. He's got a great aura, all those things about him. He doesn't speak English. I don't think he's got any interest in speaking English. He's a very angry man, and I still don't know. Sitting here right now in 2024, knowing what I know about the history of Zidane in terms of what he's won as a manager, I've just said that some of the high points, whether he's actually a good manager or not, I have no idea. There's a little part of me that thinks Steven Gerrard could have been Zinedine Zidane if you just dropped him into a really successful football club with all the right things going on around him. Because, you know, being good on the training field, being a good footballer, being a good leader, being a good figurehead for a big institution, sometimes you can cover up a multitude of sins. So Zinedine Zidane should be in the perfect, but I'm going to relegate him down to sound. Some people might disagree with that. Let me know if you do. Next up, Andoni Iraola. Now, he probably should be in the decent category, because another one there who's very highly regarded as far as his background goes. No major honours won. He has won silverware before. He's got no Champions League experience, has no other European experience at all, which is a big sort of no-no. But again, he's one of those who's highly rated and well thought of, and he's done a really good job at kind of getting Bournemouth playing a really good brand of football so far. But in reality, right here, right now, he is at best just a manager. He's just a guy who manages in the Premier League and has some stuff going for him. So yeah, highly regarded as a tactician. What is he beyond that? Yeah, just a manager. Thomas Frank is another one who should probably go into decent, because I'm putting Ange Postecoglou in decent. Now, Ange Postecoglou has won silverware, much silverware, at all kinds of different levels, about not right at the sort of top of things. Thomas Frank has no major honours, has won some silverware. Let's not go into what that silverware is. I think maybe the playoffs. It's a tough league to get out of. No Champions League experience, no European, that is in Europa League conference, etc. experience. So yeah, my fear with him, and I quite liked him, but I saw Paul Tompkins called him like a corner shop manager, in that he's not someone who's going to do something big and revolutionary, but he's very good and very neat and tidy, and this Brentford might be his level, which really concerned me, because I quite liked how he talked and I quite liked the cut of his jib. But my general thinking is, nothing about what he does strikes me as being like stand out and exceptional. He feels like, say it, just a manager, and that's where he's going. Next up, Arne Slot. Now, I'll pop him in sound for the moment, and I know most of the people who've been in the Redmen office with me today would probably be sick out their ears and eyes to hear me say that, because there seems to be a lot of negativity. He's 45. He hasn't won a major honour, but he has won the Eredivisie. He has got Champions League experience, and he has got general European experience as well. Is there a little bit of Ten Hag being crap that has put me off getting bald managers from the Dutch league? Yeah, let's be honest, that has to be a factor. And this is the thing about like the sort of top lines of this. I'm not delving into tactical styles. I'll probably do a bit of that when the shortlist gets shortened significantly. Arne Slot should be, because of the fact that he's won the Eredivisie with a team that wasn't Ajax, should be quite high up there. My general sense is I don't think it's fair to call him just a manager, because I think that is a more significant achievement, certainly a more significant achievement than Gary O'Neill and Andoni Iraola or Thomas Frank have achieved. I think, unless you think the Championship, getting out the playoffs in the Championship, no. Anyway, I'm putting him in decent for now. Graham Potter. Now, Graham Potter should be in, for me, just a manager. And he is the biggest warning sign to Liverpool approaching managers who, I think, all the managers that are going to end up in the just a manager category, because he had He was well thought of, well regarded, decent talker, obviously British manager as well. Good brand of football, was doing a good job at Brighton. I bet, you know, he'd taken Chris Hughton's side, and I remember the mantra at Brighton being, Brighton are probably going to finish, the net result will be about the same. They're going to finish in about the same positions in the league at worst, but they're going to have, and the fans are going to have much more fun with Potter than Hughton. And that was absolutely true. And actually went above and beyond that. Brighton, you know, became a real sort of underdog force in the Premier League. Obviously, De Zerbi's technically taken that and moved that on, and then we've seen what happened. Graham Potter goes to Chelsea. The job's too big for him. Now, the job is too big for everyone at Chelsea because they hate football managers. Every Chelsea fan hates every football manager that isn't Frank Lampard and 1 to 2 in 3 seasons of Jose Mourinho. Every other manager they hate, unless maybe they gave it to Jody Morris or Dennis Wise, and they probably find a way to love that too. They hate football managers, so that's no real slight, but he's a great example of what we're talking about. There's a difference between being, Chelsea and Brighton could finish in similar places in the league, but the expectation is different. The way teams play against you is different. The things that you can get away with at a club like Brighton as a manager on the pitch and make your players do, those game states don't exist when you're playing for a top club, because clubs play against you in a different manner. So actually, Graham Potter isn't in the just a manager category. He's in the dear God no category, and that's sad for him, because his career looked like it was on the right trajectory. Should have stayed at Brighton, should have got some more European football experience under his belt, and then maybe look to get a bigger move. But right now he's almost written himself out, and he's not even the kind of manager who's going to end up in the managerial merry-go-round of, I play a really good solid brand of footy that'll keep teams in the league. Interesting what his next move is going to be. At this point I'm hoping that it's not Liverpool. Thiago Motta, I'll be honest, I'm not going to sit here and say I know loads about Bologna, but he's another one that has a very similar sort of track record to a lot of the guys I'm talking about. 41 sound, no major honours, no other European no other trophies, no Champions League experience, no other European experience. So yeah, he is a best, just a manager at the very, very best. He's got to stand alongside Gary O'Neill, except he doesn't have Premier League experience, which I've not obviously had that as a metric. But there is something that I actually weirdly, if Thiago Motta and Gary O'Neill had exactly the same style of football, the exact same experience, if every possible measurable metric was identical, from a managerial perspective, I would rather have Thiago Motta over Gary O'Neill for 2 reasons. Because there's just something to knowing too much about your manager. You don't need to know loads, but actually having sight of a manager, having an air of mysticism around the manager helps. I really think that's the case. I think we do this with transfers all the time. You can go and get the English lad that you've seen play for 5 seasons in the Premier League, or you can go and get the foreign lad who's been playing in the Bundesliga or La Liga. And also, Motta's obviously played at a very, very, very high level as a player as well, which would differentiate. Gary O'Neill's obviously played a good level of English football, but by no means the top. Just a caveat that at least has worked at Liverpool in the past, which might be in his favour, but whatever. I'm putting Thiago Motta in the just a manager category. Xavi, right. I hadn't considered Xavi at all. I immediately dismissed this out of hand when the name came up. And it only really came up because it was around the time that Klopp had left and he'd announced he was leaving Barcelona, of course. But as far as Xavi goes, 44, 1 major honours, he's won other trophies, he's got Champions League experience, he's got general European experience. He actually should be. We should probably be talking about Xavi in the top bracket, because he's a decent age. He's obviously a manager. He actually won stuff in the Middle East as well at his time when he went as a player. Then he stayed on as a manager. So it's daft, but like he's had more managerial experience than just being given the Barcelona job. And he's been okay before that. He's managed to get a tune out of Barca when Barca have had the least resources they've ever had in my lifetime. So he should be imperfect, but I'm going to put him down to sound, because I just don't think I just don't think he's going to take the Liverpool job. Is a sad thing, but he would be there. He certainly stands above Postecoglou and Slot, so he can't be any lower than that. He's definitely not just a manager. He's a good manager, and he was a phenomenal player as well, and he would carry that order that I think the Liverpool manager requires. So he should be at least there. But again, should he be higher? Should be being perfect? Let me know in the comments underneath. Unai Emery, I think, is decent, and bear in mind he's done a lot more in the game than the other lads have got in there so far. My issue is, ultimately, he's just signed the contract extension with Aston Villa, so I can't see him leaving that project. He has got the Arsenal baggage behind him as well of handling that sort of top club. I wonder whether his level might be where Villa are at, where Sevilla were at, where Villarreal were at, where you're a club who can punch above their weight, get into the Champions League, but can't really be a truly consistent. Might be totally wrong on that, but I'm putting him in decent. Rob Edwards, who of all the guys I've got in there, is the best looking, and I would definitely, everyone's life will be better with a bit of Rob Edwards' smiles in their life on press conferences and whatever. Yeah, but he's a guy without enough of the credentials. But he is very well regarded in terms of his tactical approach. Look at what Vincent Kompany's done with Burnley, and look at what he's doing with Luton. Net result, both getting relegated most likely. But I've enjoyed the way that he's gone about it. He's been pragmatic, and I think you need a little bit of that. But it feels like he's another job away from being even in contention for one of those sort of top roles. Yeah, Roberto De Zerbi. Now, is he decent? He took Brighton into Europe. With another man's team. This season they've struggled with tons of injuries and having sold their two of their key midfielders as well. I think he's somewhere between decent and just a manager, and my fear is that Roberto De Zerbi is just a manager, because he's another one who, in terms of his experience, 44, no major honours, he has won silverware but not much. He has no Champions experience. He has a little bit of European experience from this season, of course. I'm going to keep De Zerbi in just a manager. Ruben Amorim, I think he is in the sound category. I don't think you put him in the perfect category. I'm putting him in the sound. He's the one, as mentioned right at the top, who has ticked a lot of the boxes that you're looking for like a next Liverpool manager, one that fits the way we do things, someone on the rise. He should probably be in perfect. In fact, you know what? I am going to put Amorim. I'm just going to edge him up to perfect, because based on a lot of the things that I've seen, he's not, young, up and coming. He's 39, so he's a little bit on the young side. I don't really like the idea of a manager who's younger than me managing Liverpool, but there you go. So I'm marking him down for that. No, he goes to sound, because I'm not having a Liverpool manager who's younger than me. Not yet. That's going to come to me at some point, but not this one. I've got one more manager than me who's at least my age. At least a lot of 41-year-olds on this list, ladies and gents. Right, 2 more to go. Jose Mourinho. Dear God, no. He was a Craven Cottage when Liverpool won. He knows what he's doing. Jose Mourinho is not soft. He knows that there's managerial jobs in the Premier League coming up this summer, and he's just putting himself in front of the cameras. And the fact that Liverpool fans are talking about it, and in fact that on some betting sites, his name came in at 8, which is absolutely terrifying. Terrifying, 8-1. For Jose Mourinho, and you're getting conversations of let him have it for one season, he's a proven winner. Yeah, he was. Let's just get Rafa back for a season. I know he's got a job at the minute, but that's what we're talking about. And some guy was talking to today, really knowledgeable sort of football fan, was saying, like, his success has gotten worse the worst club he's gone to, and that's fair. Put him in a good club, and maybe Mourinho could, and maybe just having someone who could organise us defensively, because we've got the attacking players. But no, I'm not even going to entertain. I am not going to talk anyone in to Jose Mourinho. It's done. It's over. Just let him go and be the best pundit on the planet. Josie, do it. Roma would have kept him. They would have done. They'd have just kept him because they had chances to do something this season. No. The last one I'm going to chuck in is Pep Lijnders. Now, he's a total unknown in this. Because when you rank him in the same way that I've ranked everyone else, he comes in at a big load of no's as well. Because ultimately, He hasn't won a major honour. He hasn't won another piece of European silverware. He hasn't got Champions League experience. He hasn't got all this. But if you also go on Zinedine Zidane's Wikipedia, it tells you 3 European Cups that he's won and 13-14 brackets as assistant manager. Well, if we're having that, then Pep has won absolutely every trophy that is to win. So I am... my immediate thought when Klopp announced that he was leaving was, my immediate thought, apart from I'm dead sad, was, okay, Shant, well, Pep will take over for at least the season or so, and we can maybe bring an assistant manager in, and we can just carry on as we are. I felt that Pep was the perfect next Liverpool manager. It felt like he was being groomed for that job this whole time, and the fact that all of a sudden it was like, I know he's leaving. There must be some reasoning behind that. I don't know what it is. I can't believe he's not been in consideration. His name surely will have been on a whiteboard somewhere. He's there. He knows the club inside and out. He is the chief man responsible for Liverpool's tactical setup. Klopp sets so much of the overriding ethos. He's the guy, the figure, the front man. He's the lead singer of the band. But I feel like Pep is the songwriter. He's the Gary Barlow. He's the Noel Gallagher. He's not as box office as, Liam and whoever, Robbie Williams, I don't know. But, yeah, he knows his onions. He knows Liverpool. And he should be. If he wasn't the current Liverpool manager, he'd be in the just a manager category. But he's not. He's in the club and he knows it already. And sometimes, when you're looking at these things, someone like Mikel Arteta wouldn't have been even on the radar for this because he was just an assistant manager. There's tons of examples, of managers sort of having what it takes. So any one of these guys, with the exception of Jose Mourinho and Graham Potter, just to be clear, could be a good Liverpool manager. And maybe any of them will end up as Liverpool manager as well. And I'll buy into whoever it is because I'll support whatever the Liverpool manager is and whatever he looks like and whatever his background is because he'll be the Liverpool manager. I do fear for the optics. I do fear that a manager needs something a little bit something special to kind of curry favour with the Liverpool fan base in case it doesn't go great straight off the bat. And too many of the managers won't have that. And that's what stands Pep well above them for me, is that he has got lots of credit in the bank with Liverpool fans. And I like the cut of his jib. I think he's a good fella. And I would feel much calmer with Pep than any of those other just a manager guys, although some of them could go on to be stellar Liverpool managers. Right, there you go. What have I got wrong? What do you agree with, more importantly? And who makes your perfect and sound, or even dear God no, list? Let me know in the comment section underneath and subscribe as well. Nice one.